A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation, and it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal life. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Life, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our story today, Portland, USA, was written by Irv Punick and features Joseph DeSantis in the role of Saul Gitlin and Edgar Staley as Triumph. The narrator is Roger DeKoven. The town of Tobruk in the district of Minsk suffered in the main from an accident of geography. It was perched in the very center of that twilight zone between Poland and Russia that was neither far enough away from Poland to escape its innumerable partitions, nor far enough from Russia to avoid the Russian winters. Whenever there was a war, and when wasn't there a war, it was standard procedure the loser had to take Tobruk. This is the reason that Saul Gitlin was happy to leave Tobruk. He never liked the idea of going to sleep in Poland and waking up in Russia, or vice versa. In 1910, Saul Gitlin left his two brothers in Tobruk and came to America. Somehow he found his way to Portland, Maine, and there he was content, and there he settled. At least when you went to sleep in Portland, Maine, when you woke up, it was still Portland, Maine. Chaim. Chaim, get up. Time to get up.
Oh, what time is it, Saul?
4:30.
Has the rooster crowed?
Not yet.
Am I not entitled to as much sleep as the rooster?
This is not the hour for dialectic discussion. Get up.
Have you washed, Saul?
Not yet.
And wash. When you finish, wake me up.
Chaim, get up. I repeat to you this vision of Solomon. A wise son gathereth in summer, but he that sleepeth in harvest causeth shame.
Oh, summer, he says, summer. Outside the snow is falling, and he says summer. What will mean when it gets warm enough so that you have to wear only one suit of woolen underwear? That's the whole summer.
Why, are you unhappy here?
He says unhappy.
You're always complaining.
A man gets up before the chickens, he doesn't get up laughing, so you say he complains. I never complain. I only say in Portland, Maine, the winter is cold. That I get up before the chickens, the business is terrible, that I feel my rheumatism is worse. But complain? No, not time, never.
Listen, tonight I'm going to write a letter to my brothers in Tobruk.
Jacob
and Abraham, the both.
What has that got to do with my getting up before the chickens?
I'm asking them to come to America, to Portland, Maine. When they come, then, if you like, you can go where it's always summer and sleep to your heart's content.
Good. Fine.
But until they come, you're still my partner?
Naturally.
We still have to do business?
Of course.
When a customer comes to the store, no matter when he comes to the store will be open?
Yes, but...
So now get up.
I am up.
And stop complaining.
I am not complaining. I never complain. When did you ever hear me complain? Never once. Not once did I complain. I challenge you to tell me when once I complain.
Now, you see, Chaim? You see what you did?
What did I do?
You woke up the chicken.
Then now I know it's time to get up and say the morning prayer. Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who hast given to the rooster intelligence to distinguish between day and night.
That night, from Portland, Maine, a letter was dispatched to the Brooks. Saul did not labor over its composition. It was easy to write. The words glided from his heart. I ask you to put aside whatever preconceived ideas you may have about America. The promise of America is not a material thing. The roads are not paved with gold. The trees are not laden with gilded fruit. Nor is one able to sit under a tree and have a fortune rain down into his lap. Here in Portland, the climate is severe. The winter is long, and the summer, though sweet, is short. But here is opportunity. Here a man who gives an honest measure has the chance to earn an honest profit. Here there is growth, new growth, and a chance for all to share in the growth. Brothers, both of you, come to Portland. Come to live in this new land. Come, see for the first time what it means to live in peace. In Bobrusk, which at this time was in Poland, or was it in Russia? I forget now, but it is unimportant. In Bobrusk, all two brothers read his letter. Abraham had married. There was a child expected. Of course, he could not leave. But Jacob turned his back on Bobrusk, not looking back even once. He turned his back on Bobrusk and started for Portland.
Moving, Mr. Gitlin?
Moving? Me? No, only alteration.
Oh.
Expanding.
Building a whole new wing. We're going to put in a full line of dry goods.
Is that so?
The finest. Only the finest.
Well, I must say it's about time somebody thought of that. Will you carry drapery material?
Huh? Of course. Naturally.
I had expected to go to Boston to buy material for some new draperies, but I'll wait till you have yours in.
Thank you, Mrs. Everett. You won't be sorry.
I've dealt with you many years, Mr. Gitlin. I've never been sorry.
Oh, that's a wonderful compliment.
Yes. Will you send a package to my house by this evening?
By this afternoon.
Oh, good. Well, good morning.
Good morning, Mrs. Everett. Chaim! Chaim!
Are you calling me, Saul?
Where are you?
Back here.
What are you doing back here in the stockroom?
Taking inventory.
Now?
Right now.
Why?
It is now 5 months since you wrote to your brothers to come to Portland, Maine.
Almost 6 months.
They should arrive any day. So I'm taking inventory. When they come, I leave.
I don't know why you're in such a hurry to leave now. The summer has only started.
That's it.
What's it?
The summer.
Well, what about the summer?
It's too hot.
The new wing to the store was finished now. The dry goods lined the shelves in varicolored strata, and Saul Gitlin stood proudly below and exhibited his wares to his customers. Already he was thinking of, no, not another wing, but another floor. Furniture this time, only the best. But he was worried, too. He had heard from Bobrusk. He knew Jacob was on his way to Portland. But in months now, not a word, not a sign. Finally, he could wait no longer.
Yes? Oh, Mr. Gitlin, come in.
You will please excuse me, Mrs. Everett. I hope I'm not taking you from anything important.
Oh, of course not. Come into the parlor.
Thank you. Mrs. Everett.
How do you like the way the drapes look?
Oh? Oh, beautiful.
You don't think the velvet fringes are too daring?
I should say not. The latest, the very latest. I have a picture in my store of Mrs. J. Gould's parlor. She has exactly the same dress.
Really?
Yes. Mrs. Everett, please. I need help.
Well, what's the trouble?
My brother Jacob. He's coming here to join me. He left
Bobrusk at least 3 months ago.
Bobrusk?
The village we come from in the old country.
Oh, well, where is that?
Well, it's either Poland or Russia.
You're not sure?
Well, frankly, I've not had time to read the papers this morning. That's the only way you can tell for sure.
Oh.
Whenever the Tsar feels uneasy, he gives Bobrusk to the Poles. Whenever the Poles feel strong, they make him take it back.
Oh, I see. And now your brother has left Bobrusk for America?
He has, but I've not heard from him. He must have arrived here already, but I haven't heard from him. You see why I'm worried.
Well, he knows where to come.
I wrote him very carefully in the letter. Portland.
Well, I think the thing to do is to get in touch with the Immigration Service. They surely ought to know.
Am I allowed?
Well, for heaven's sakes, why not?
Not yet a citizen. I've only my second paper.
That makes no difference. Write to the Immigration Service in Washington. They have all the records. They'll find your brother.
You mean I've got the right to ask the government about my brother?
Certainly.
It's a wonderful country, Mrs. Evans. Wonderful land.
Chaim! Are you here?
Did you think I was in California?
I made all the deliveries. I think
Letter came for you.
Letter? Where?
Here. It says in this corner it's from the United States government. I think that's a lie.
Why?
Look, no stamp on the envelope. The United States government is big enough to be able to buy a stamp.
It must be about Jacob.
Read it.
Mr. Saul Gitlin, Gitlin's department store, Portland, Maine. Dear sir.
Dear sir. That's very nice. The United States government calling you dear sir.
This office is in receipt of your favor of the 14 inst.
What's in?
Inst is this month.
This month? It couldn't be.
Why?
This month is August.
In regard to Jacob Gitlin, our records disclose that a Jacob Gitlin, formerly residing in Bobrusk, province of Minsk, Empire of Russia, entered this country through the port of New York on July 5th. His papers were in order, and he passed customs inspection and health examination the next day. Our records further reveal that his destination was Portland. His nearest relative in this country, one Saul Gitlin, whom we presume is yourself.
Well, naturally.
He's here. Jacob is in America.
Well, if he's here, where is he?
I don't understand it.
Well, how can he be here and not be here? At least if the letter said he wasn't here, that I could understand.
But it says
he isn't here because he isn't here, but the letter says he is here. So where is he?
Chaim, please.
Is there any more to the letter?
Yes. If you have not yet located your brother, this office suggests that you contact the Bureau of Missing Persons, New York City Department of Police. Missing person. Missing person.
You think he's lost?
Well, what else can I think? It doesn't take over a month to get from New York to Portland. What else is there to think?
I don't know why you're so gloomy, Saul. Jacob doesn't have to be lost. Maybe he's only had an accident.
Huh?
Maybe with all that Russian traffic in New York, maybe he was only hit by a horse car. Or who can tell, maybe he's only sick in the hospital.
Chaim.
Huh?
Please, go back to work.
With the thought of poor Jacob suffering alone in that hospital, maybe on the point of death, how can I keep my mind on my work?
To the Bureau of Missing Persons, New York City Department of Police, Jacob Gitlin became a 5x3 index card, neatly filed away. No information, try Boston. Boston, no record of Jacob Gitlin. Providence, no such person as Jacob Gitlin. Philadelphia, no Jacob Gitlin.
Chaim!
What time is it?
It's 2:00 in the afternoon.
Huh?
And is this the time to sleep?
Who's sleeping? Me?
When a man is flat on his back, when his eyes are closed, when he snores like a freight locomotive, what then is he doing?
Thinking.
Thinking. About what?
About where I should go when I leave Portland. So, what do you think about Texas?
What would you do in Texas?
In Texas, I understand they have thousands of cows.
Yes.
Cows give milk.
Yes.
From milk you can make cheese.
Yes.
For cheese, you need boxes.
Yes.
Boxes need labels.
Yes.
Labels need pictures.
Yes.
Labels need words.
Chaim.
And someone has to write the words.
You.
Naturally, am I not a scholar? So I think I should go to Texas and become an author.
Someone in the store.
Mrs. Everett.
Oh. Good afternoon, Mrs. Everett.
Well, Mr. Gitlin, I've located him.
Who?
Your brother.
Jacob. You know where Jacob is?
I do.
Oh.
I've just returned from New York City. While there, I did a little sleuthing on my own.
Yes?
I traced him from the docks where his ship came in to Grand Central Terminal. I inquired further, and finally, I found a ticket seller who thought he remembered him. I know where he is now.
Where? Tell me where.
Your brother is in Portland.
Was here? In Portland? But
Jacob is in Portland, but not here.
But...
Sit down, Saul.
Why?
Your brother is not in Portland, Maine. He's in Portland, Oregon.
On the map, as Saul looked at the map, Portland, Oregon was a black dot, a universe away. Plans built up in his mind. He would take the next train to Oregon. He would wire the police in Oregon. He would send Chaim to Oregon. How does a brother find a brother in Oregon?
Oh, the letter is here.
Let me see.
This one must be important. It has a stamp.
Chaim! Chaim! It's from Jacob! From Portland, Oregon! From Jacob!
My dear brother, no doubt you will be surprised to learn that I am now in Portland, Oregon. To tell you the truth, I am a little surprised myself. But you should have told me that in America it is sometimes like in the old country. That Portland is like Bobrisky. That sometimes it is in one place and sometimes in another. What follows is the true account of my adventures since I arrived in America. When I arrived in New York City, I, along with all the other immigrants, were lined up on a pier, and after the doctor looked in my mouth and made me say, "Ah," I was given a tag. Then a man in a uniform came up to me and began to ask questions. Not yet being able to understand English, I answered in our own tongue. But then he seemed to understand when I said, Portland.
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 For 5 days on the train I traveled. Finally, the train came to Portland, and I got off. I've looked for you, for your store. I walked up and down every street looking for your name on a window. But I found nothing. The first night, I slept in a park. The second, in a stable. But the third night, I slept in a bed. I will tell you how that happened. I was walking down a street lined with stores, and in front of one of these stores, a man was standing. He was a small, stout man, and his face was bright with a smile. And he stood in the door of this shop, his hands clasped behind his back, and he rocked back and forth on his feet. There was something about him, something I recognized. I walked up to him, and I said, "Pardon me, can you help me, please? Here in Portland, I am a stranger." This man looked at me, and put his hand on my shoulder, and then saw. Then he said,
"You are not a stranger. Come into my house."
And so the two brothers were now in America with only the continent between. It was planned to have Jacob stay in Oregon only long enough to earn his fare eastward. But a year passed, and then another.
Saul.
Yes, Chaim.
Saul, this morning you got another letter from Jacob.
Yes, a wonderful letter. In English.
What did it say in English?
It says that Mr. Pincus, the man he lives with, has decided to make him a partner in his livery business.
In Portland, Oregon?
Of course.
If he's in business in Portland, Oregon, that means he will not come to Portland, Maine.
Not just now.
Oh. When?
I don't know when.
Do we have a size 36 short overcoat in stock?
I think so, Chaim. Do we have a customer for it?
Certainly I have a customer, me.
years flew by swiftly. They were good years for Saul and good years for Jacob, so they flew by swiftly.
Dear Jacob, congratulations on your marriage. Please accept this little gift that represents not only my joy for your happiness, but my sorrow at being unable to attend the services. I wanted to come to Portland. I intended to come. But at the last minute, I came down with a bad case of pneumonia, and so naturally I had to stay home. But next year, for sure, I will come. I've had a letter from Bobrusk. Our brother seems to need a little aid. I've sent him what I could. Please kiss my new sister, and tell her that my love for her crosses the continent with ease. So strong is it. Jacob, now that automobiles are getting popular, what are you going to do with your livery business? Your loving brother, Saul.
Dear Saul, so they have elected you president of the synagogue in Portland, Maine. What a wonderful honor. Of course, I only wish it were possible for me to join you on this great occasion. My wife and both children are well. Little Rebecca has entered school, and my son has been promoted to the 6th grade. My last letter from Bobrusk, from Abraham, was very depressing. I wish he would come to America, but now, of course, with all the trouble in Europe, I suppose that will be impossible. The automobile business is prospering. Last week we sold 6 cars. We are thinking now of opening a branch in Salem. Not in Salem, Illinois. Not in Salem, Massachusetts. But in Salem, Oregon.
Now year followed year as day follows day, swiftly with a dash of time. And still the brothers remained apart. Saul in Portland, Maine, Jacob in Portland, Oregon, and Abraham in Bobrusk. 30 years passed, and still they remained apart.
Dear Jacob, I know you will be proud as I am to learn that my son Elias has just received his commission as a second lieutenant in the Air Force. He tells me that it is very possible that he may get to the West. If so, he will look you up. No, I've had no word from Abraham. Expecting news from Europe these days is like expecting it from the grave. My love to your family, Saul.
Dear Saul, I have wonderful news. The best news since the ending of the war. Abraham is safe. Abraham is alive. The American Joint Distribution Committee has written me that he is safe in the refugee camp in Germany. I have already started making arrangements to bring him here to America. He will come to me in Portland, Oregon. You, Saul, you must come too. Whatever ties hold you to where you are now, these ties are not as close as the bond of blood. Now, at last, you must really come.
Dear Jacob, it is not so easy to do it as it is to say it. To give up my life here and start all over in a distant region, a man of my age. I remember a letter you sent
me in Bobrusk. I will repeat a little of it. Here in Portland, a man who gives an honest measure has the chance to earn an honest profit. Here there is growth, new growth, and a chance for all to share in the growth. Come, Saul. Come live with me in the new part of the land. Now is the time, Saul. Right now.
Jacob.
Yes, Saul.
You haven't changed. Not at all.
Nor have you. You look the same.
Jacob,
Saul, you...
When Abraham comes, then think, after 40 years, we'll be together. At last, after all of this, at last together.
I sometimes wonder what would happen to the world if America weren't here offering every man a chance of dignity.
We have a lot to be...
Oh, yes, my dear.
Jacob, a telegram.
Oh, from whom?
I didn't open it. You know how nervous I get when a telegram comes.
Silly.
What is it, Jacob?
That from the Joint Distribution Committee. About Abraham.
Well?
They won't let him come to America.
But why?
Because he arrived in the refugee camp after December 22nd, 1945.
What difference does that make?
It's the law, the new law. This country will accept refugees, but only if they were in the American, British, or French zones of Germany before that date.
I don't understand.
It's the law.
But we bring people to this country. People come to this country because of what they are, what they need, what they've been through. They come because they want to live here and work here and be good citizens.
Yes.
Because a man went into a camp before December 22nd, 1945, does that make him a good man? Because a man went into a camp after December 22nd, 1945, does that make him a bad man? Is there a date that determines a man's goodness?
It's the law.
My dear brothers, so at last you have come together. You can imagine my joy at the news and my sorrow at not being able to join in this great reunion. All during the time I was in the concentration camps, all that terrible time, the thing that kept me going was the thought that at least you, my brothers, you in Portland were safe. To believe, to know that there were Portlands still standing in the world, havens, little islands of safety. This thought sustained me in my agony. Now, I am safe too. Here in the refugee camp, I have given a name to the little hut in which I live. I call it Portland. I do not understand about laws that prevent a man from freely walking the roads of the world. But there are such laws. Still in my heart, as in the hearts of all the children of Almighty God, Jews and Christians, all of us in the refugee camps of Europe, there is a dream. We see ourselves, all of us, sailing freely across open seas, through open gates, and there in every nation on God's earth, waiting on the dock, are our brothers. For my own sake, I close my eyes and see my own brothers on the dock, waiting to greet me. I read the name of the port. It stands out in bold black letters. Portland, USA.
Our Eternal Light drama today, Portland, USA, was written by Irv Punig. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Cadams. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical introduction. Joseph DeSantis was heard as Saul, and Edgar Staley as Chaim. The entire production was under the direction of Edward King. Free time to present the Eternal Light is made available by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. If you have any comments or inquiries about today's broadcast, please write to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York, New York. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The eternal life. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations make free time available to present The Eternal Life. This program comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our story today is Sylvia Berger's The Woman Rich in Time. Norman Rose is the narrator.
A short time ago, around the corner, there lived a little girl who was loved by her mother. Everybody else found her as welcome as a mosquito bite, because she asked too many questions. Marilla asked so many questions, in fact, that even her own mother sometimes wished she were a little dog instead.
Mother.
Yes, Marilla?
Mother, why is rain wet?
Because it's made of water.
Where does the rain get the water?
It gets it from the clouds.
Where do the clouds get the water?
They get it from the ocean.
Where does the ocean get the water?
It gets it from the rain.
But, Mother...
What is it, Marilyn?
If the ocean gets the water from the rain, and the rain gets the water from the clouds, and the clouds get the water from the ocean, and the ocean gets the water from the rain, then why, Mother?
Why, Mother? Why, Mother? I don't know why, Mother. I was never asked, and I was never told. Now pick up a towel and dry the silver spoons. Before you get a slap, you'll remember.
But as Marilla picked up a towel to dry the silver spoons, she said,
Mother?
Yes, Marilla?
Mother, why will I remember this slap more than the slap you gave me yesterday?
Now, anyone smart enough to have two ears can tell you that a man who asks too many questions is like a dog with fleas. You don't dare get too close to him lest some come off on you. But no one had told that to Marilla, so she went on asking questions. She asked long questions, short questions, sharp questions, dull questions, questions with an answer, questions without an answer.
How deep is the blink of an eye?
Clever questions, useless questions.
Who has seen tomorrow come?
And just plain silly questions. But sometimes, when she had asked a question from the very marrow of her very heart, it seemed to Marilla that she heard the whisper of golden wings, and then she knew that she was about to be given an answer. But at that very moment, a leaf might fall, or a clock would tick, and she wouldn't hear the answer after all. And so the years grew, and Marilla grew with them, until the time came when she herself had become a mother, and it was her turn to answer questions.
Why, Mother?
Because all good little children go to bed at this time. Now kiss Mother goodnight.
Sing the song.
David, I've already sung it 3 times.
Just once more.
All right, just once more, and then goodnight. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. Oh, dear me, how shall I learn my ABC? Up to the ceiling, down to the floor, right to the
window,
left to the
door. Just once more, Mother, just once more.
No more now, David. We'll sing more tomorrow. Now you have to go to sleep. Good night, son.
Good night, Mother. Mother.
What is it, David?
I want to ask a question.
What question do you want to ask?
Does it hurt a tomato when you bite it?
No. It does not hurt a tomato when you bite it. Good night, David.
Good night, Mother.
What words are there to describe the love of a mother for her child? A mother sweetens with the love of her child, as the warm earth sweetens with the summer sun. Her days are like days in a flowering orchard. Her nights are honeyed with contentment. Such were the days and nights of Marilla. And then, one blackened hour, a visitor came into her home. And the visitor's name was Death. And Death took the son of Marilla. And the sun in the sky burned black. The black of the night burned with fires, as Marilla wandered in search of Death. But Death would not be found, and Marilla prayed for her time to end. And one night, when she was not so young anymore that she had not seen the leaves fall from the trees, Marilla woke up with the biggest question she had ever asked. Marilla sat up in bed and she cried,
What time is it? What time is it? What time is it? What time is it now in my life? Why won't time end?
And then it seemed to Marilla that she heard the whisper of golden wings. But at that very moment, the ears of night turned deaf, the mouth of night turned dumb, and she heard the thunder of her empty heart. Marilla was persuaded to go to a doctor. And the doctor said, You must try to eat more, Marilla. Rest, good food.
Doctor, is there a food, doctor, that cannot be eaten by death?
And she went to another doctor, and he said, You must try to get some rest, Marilla. Rest. Sleep.
Doctor, is there a sleep longer than the sleep of death?
There was no doctor who could answer Marilla's question. And then they told her of a woman rich in time, and they said that surely she would have the answers to Marilla's questions. And Marilla came to Rebecca Cohort.
Sit down, Marilla.
Marilla sat down.
Forgive me for asking you to come to my bed, Marilla, but I have not been able to leave it for a few years.
Marilla raised her eyes.
One gets a little tired at 86.
Marilla looked at the frosted hair, the head lowered with time.
Tell me, how can I help you, Marilla?
Marilla was ashamed, but still she had to ask. And she asked her question.
What is stronger than death?
And she waited until Rebecca Cohort spoke.
When we were children, we played beside our mother's knee. But when I was 7, my mother died. And every afternoon, my brother Felix and I would go to her grave on Chaco Hill to play our games.
Pepper, salt, mustard, cider. How many bullets killed a tiger? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. You missed. I did not. You did too. You said 30, 60, 50. I did not. I said 30, 40, 50. Oh. I guess I don't want to play numbers anymore. Why not? I guess I want to play something else. You want to find Well, do you want to play store? Let's play store. All right. Now, these leaves must be a dozen eggs, and this stick is a yard of calico. Now, you must come into my store and ask for a yard of calico, and I must ask for a salad. Oh. All right. Here. This little bit of grass must be a salad. Now, you come in and... Ma'am? Hello, Miss Schwartz.
Rebecca Bettelheim, what are you doing? And you, Felix?
We're playing, ma'am. We're playing, Miss Schwartz.
Playing? In the cemetery?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Playing right beside your mother's grave.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Miss Schwartz.
Aren't you ashamed, Rebecca?
No, ma'am. No, Miss Schwartz. We always play near our mother, Miss Schwartz. We like to play near our mother, Miss Schwartz.
And this time, Rebecca Cohut waited to see whether Marilla had found her answer. But all Marilla said was,
What happened to you then?
I grew up. Not the way a songbird grows, Marilla. Not the way a lily grows in the field. My father, you know, was a rabbi. And I'm afraid that I sometimes found it rather a trial to be a rabbi's daughter. Especially at mealtimes.
Rebecca?
Yes, Father?
Mrs. Schwartz is ready for more potatoes, Rebecca.
Oh, excuse me. Miss Schwartz, will you have more potatoes?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Felix?
Yes, Father?
I think Mrs. Schwartz would care for a little more pie.
But there isn't. Would you care for some more pie, Miss Schwartz?
Thank you. My brother Felix and I used to grumble sometimes that we had to share the little food we had with outright strangers. But I know now that they weren't strangers at all. They were old friends. Hadn't they been introduced to us by our old friend, Hunger?
Rebecca Cohut smiled into Marilla's eyes. But Marilla's eyes were turned on herself with grief, and she didn't see her. And like a mother coaxing an ailing child back to health, Rebecca Cohut picked up her story.
I made up my mind, Marilla, when I was young, that I would never be poor again. And above all, I would never marry a rabbi, because rabbis had little money, and what little they had, they gave away. Then, I was 24 at the time, I remember it well. I went to visit my cousins in New York, and I met a man called Alexander Cohut. I must have sounded very light-minded, because I fell in love with him at once.
I am very charmed to know you, Miss Bettelheim. Are you staying in New York long?
I'm here on a short visit, Dr. Cohut.
Oh, I have not been here very long either.
Well, it's only an accident that I'm here at all.
An accident?
Well, I mean, I would never be here if it weren't for the rate war.
Please?
The railroads are fighting for each other's customers, Dr. Cohut. They've both reduced their rates so low now that it costs almost nothing to travel. Our whole family is taking trips this summer.
Good.
I've heard a great deal about you, Dr. Cohut.
A great deal. That is nice.
Oh, yes, indeed. My father told me all about the work you've been doing on ancient literature.
Well, I have heard about you, too, Miss Bettelheim.
You have?
You forget your father also came to visit because of the rate war.
Oh, yes, of course. You are here with your family, Dr. Cohut?
My 3 sons.
3 sons? How nice.
And 5 daughters.
How nice. When you are young, you bargain with tomorrow. This I will have, this I won't have, this is not for me. But tomorrow's treasures are hidden from the eyes of today. At 17, I knew I would never marry a poor man, a rabbi, or a widower with children. At 24, I married a widowed rabbi without money and with 8 children. And that which I had wanted least is what I loved most. My family's need of me. Each night, 8 children had to be tutored in English.
Thank you.
No, children, no. Not thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, that's very good. Now let's get back to the presidents of the United States. Who was the first president?
George Washington.
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 And 8 children had to be tutored in American customs.
Never. I will never go there again. Never.
Margaret, darling, now don't be so upset. It's not as bad as all that, dear.
As long as I live, never.
But, Margaret, dear, I've already told you they didn't mean to hurt you. They liked you, dear. Couldn't you see that they liked you?
I don't believe it.
Oh.
Even if all the family is invited there. Even if George and Louis and Elizabeth and Helen and Valerie and Eugene and Giselle and you and Father. Even if you're all invited and you all go to visit them, I won't. I will send word that I have a headache.
Oh, really, Margaret? Oh, now, dear. Dear, you wouldn't want to be unkind to 2 lonely old people who never meant you any harm, would you? Mr. and Mrs. Handler are so lonely, Margaret, and they do so enjoy visitors.
I don't
and they're so fond of you, Margaret. You know Mr. and Mrs. Handler don't have any little girls of their own. That's why they asked me to bring you. They felt so gay to have a pretty little girl to tea. Couldn't you tell how gay you made them?
They laughed at
me. Oh, no, dear, no, they didn't. They weren't laughing at you. They were laughing at me.
Now you are laughing at me.
Oh, no, dear, no, I'm not. Not at you. I am just laughing at the look that came over Mrs. Handler's face when she saw you bowing from the waist.
I have seen many people bow from the waist. Father and thousands of people.
Yes, I know, dear. I know many people do it. But they are mostly men. And I don't think Mrs. Handler was quite accustomed to seeing a little girl bow from the waist when she was introduced to her.
I only wanted to be polite.
Oh, yes, of course, darling. And I'm very glad you were. I wouldn't want you to be impolite ever. But, you know, Margaret, manners are different in every country. And what might have been perfectly correct in Hungary might seem just a little strange here in America. Now, anyway, let's forget all about it and have some fun. Let's go out for a nice, long walk in the park. I can finish the dinner later. Now, how would you like that?
I don't know.
Oh, we'll have a perfectly wonderful time, Margaret. We'll look at the carriages going by with all the fashionable people, and we'll see how many trees we can recognize by their American names. Now, let me see. Where did I put my hat?
Oh, here it is, Mother.
So it is, dear. What would I do without you? Now, come, let's hurry before the sun goes down, huh? Oh, and Margaret, I've got another idea.
What, Mother?
When we come back from the park, we'll bake a whole lot of little different flavor cakes as a surprise for Father and the others.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, won't it be nice? And we can make them all different flavors. A special flavor for everybody.
Yes, strawberry?
You will have strawberry and Father will have chocolate. He likes chocolate. And George will have...
George likes chocolate, too. So does Elizabeth.
George and Elizabeth shall have chocolate. And Helen and Gisela. What flavor shall we have for Helen and Gisela?
Vanilla.
Vanilla it will be. Now, all we have to do is to decide on the flavors for Valerie and Louis.
And Eugene.
And Eugene, of course. Well, we can decide on that in the park. Come on. Why, isn't it beautiful out? Hurry, dear.
I'm coming, Mother. Oh, it's beautiful out.
Yes, of course it is. Ah, and there's Officer O'Reilly. Good afternoon, Officer O'Reilly. Say good afternoon to Officer O'Reilly, dear.
Good afternoon, Officer O'Reilly. Mother, he's laughing at me.
Margaret, dear.
Yes, Mother?
Margaret, dear, it is not the custom in this particular neighborhood to bow to the ground when you meet Officer O'Reilly on the street. You merely say, good afternoon, and you continue calmly on your way. And 8 children tutored in American fashion.
Mother. Hey, Mother.
What? Oh, my goodness, George, you startled me.
Is Father around?
Why, Father's upstairs, George, working on his book. Would you like me to get him?
No, that would be terrible.
Terrible? What's happened, George? Is there something serious?
Yes.
I'd better call Father.
No, that would just make it worse. You'd better not know until it's done.
Until it's done?
I'll need your help, Mother.
My help? All right, George, what do you want me to do?
Buy a derby.
What?
He'll hear you. For my bar mitzvah, Mother. I'm not going to stand up to the ceremony without a derby.
Yes, of course, George. But if you want a derby, George, I don't see why your father can't come with us.
Have you forgotten the coat?
The coat?
It had a fur collar.
It was warm.
Said it made me look like a prince.
It was quite beautiful, George.
He wanted me to wear it to school.
It would have been lovely for school.
Except that it was green.
I'll go with you, George, to buy your derby.
At Bloomingdale.
What's that, George?
I went into the subject of derby hats with my colleagues at school, Mother. The American-type derby can be had only at Bloomingdale.
Alexander Kohat knew Hebrew, Hungarian, German, French, Italian, Latin, and Arabic. But his lectures had to be given in English. Alexander!
Yes, Rebecca.
What is this word here, dear? I can't make it out.
Where, dear?
Right here.
Oh, yes, my handwriting is atrocious. It is Wünschen. That means
No, I know what it means, dear. I just couldn't make out the writing. I'll have the translation finished in a few minutes now.
You're very kind to us, my dear.
Oh, no, I'm not. I love working with you on your lectures, Alexander.
You've done a great deal for us, Rebecca. You've given the children understanding and love. As for me, without you, Rebecca, I think I should have been lost completely.
No, Alexander, no. It was I who was lost until you found me. I never knew that until I could give myself to another's happiness, I could never be happy at all.
In the room where Marilla sat listening to Rebecca Kohut, twilight gathered in corners and spilled like smoke upon the pictures on the walls. Marilla raised her eyes, and then she pointed to one.
That is my father.
And Marilla pointed to another.
That is my brother Felix.
And Marilla said,
They are dead. They died.
And Marilla pointed to the picture of a tall, dark-eyed man.
That is my husband.
And Marilla cried,
But he, too, is dead.
My husband died when I was 32.
Then what was there left for you?
Oh, I had no time to ask. I had my children to work for.
Where are your children now?
No child can stay forever with his mother.
But when your children left you alone, what did you do then?
I worked for other mothers' children. There were some who were lonely and needed a friend, and some who were hungry.
Excuse me. Can you please tell me where I can find Mrs. Kohat? Mrs. Rebecca Kohat.
I am Mrs. Kohat.
Oh.
Won't you sit down, my dear?
Thank you. Mrs. Kohat.
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Kohat, I'm here because... I came here because...
Tell me, how can I help you?
I would never have come here, Mrs. Kohat. I would never have come here to bother you, and I know you must have troubles of your own, and everybody's been coming to you, but the other girls, you helped them, Mrs. Kohat. You found jobs for them. I looked, Mrs. Kohat. Don't think I haven't looked.
I know you have.
I stood in line 6 hours this morning outside a restaurant. The sign said waitresses. Until a man came out and said for us to go home. The job was taken. He kept coming out and telling us to go home. The job was taken, but nobody would move. Nobody. And I stayed true until they sent for the cops.
Yes, I know.
Please, Mrs. Cohen.
Child, there isn't a factory in town now which doesn't throw me out when they see me at their door.
You found jobs for the others. I heard about it.
Yes, I know. But now they leave orders with the office boy. When Rebecca Cohut comes around, get her out. She's a pest. She wants jobs.
Mrs. Cohut.
I'll try, child. I'll try. There must be some place that hasn't thrown me out yet. I think I'll try the mayor's office.
Rebecca Cohut remembered and smiled. But Marilla said,
That was long ago.
That particular girl? I think she came to see me in 1904. Perhaps it was 1903. There have been so many things to do and so many people, I don't always remember exactly.
But all those people are dead now. All the people you knew are gone. You're all alone. What is there for you now? What is stronger than death?
I heard about a young girl the other day. She wants to get married, but there are difficulties. I shall have to help her. Yes, someone will have to help her.
Have to help. Oh.
Marilla looked at the frosted hair, the head lowered with time. And then it seemed to Marilla that she heard the whisper of golden wings. Marilla had heard the answer.
Our Eternal Light drama today, The Woman Rich in Time, was written by Sylvia Berger. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Caton. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical introduction. Charlotte Holland was heard as Mrs. Cohut and Mitzi Gould as Marilla. The entire production was under the direction of Edward King. Free Time to present The Eternal Light is made available by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. If you have any comments or inquiries about today's broadcast, please write to The Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. This program came to you from Radio City, New York. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our Eternal Light story today, Messenger of Prayer, was written by Irv Tunick and features Henry Rosenblatt, singing the songs of his father, Cantor Joseph Rosenblatt. Alexander Scroby is your narrator, and Peter Capell plays the role of Cantor Joseph Rosenblatt.
All week long, from Sunday until Friday afternoon, all during the week, little Josele Rosenblatt suffered from his sighs. Life was hard enough at home with 9 older sisters to plague him minute by minute, but away from home it was worse. In the street, because he was small, the other boys would surround him, bully him, torture him with the exquisite finesse of children having fun. But on Shabbos, on Friday after sundown and on Saturday, little Josele Rosenblatt would clamber up on a little box, close his eyes, and sing. And all the congregation of Chernovitz, the old men, the boys, the women, the girls, all of them would hear the sweetness of his song and feel an intimacy with God. When he was 18, barely 5 foot tall, looking more like 13, when he was 18 and already cantor of the Chernovitz synagogue, a tall man in the uniform of the Emperor's Hussars paid him a visit.
You are Joseph Rosenblatt?
Yes, sir.
You sing?
Yes, sir. I am Joseph Rosenblatt. I sing.
I believe we've already established that point. There's no chance of a mistake, huh? You're the only Joseph Rosenblatt in Chernovitz that sings.
That is true.
Then you must be the singer, Joseph Rosenblatt.
I would say, sir, that such a conclusion is wholly obtainable upon the facts.
Ah.
And now, what can I do for you?
My name is Holnus, Major Holnus.
Rosenblatt. Joseph Rosenblatt.
An honor.
Likewise.
I come with a message from His Imperial Majesty, our beloved Emperor Franz Joseph. His Majesty has heard of your remarkable voice and requests your presence at court.
The Emperor wants me to sing for him?
He does.
A great honor.
An extraordinary honor.
Please inform His Majesty that I am enormously grateful for his invitation.
Yes, and then you will be...
deeply regretful that I cannot accept.
You'll decline His Majesty's invitation?
I am afraid I must.
But you can't.
Nevertheless, I must.
His Majesty commands it.
Commands what?
Commands that you appear before his court and sing.
His Majesty may command me to appear before his court, but he cannot command me to sing. Isn't that so, Major Holness?
Why is it so?
Because my body belongs to His Majesty, but my song belongs to God.
What?
Major, among the Jews, music is considered a divine art. The prophet Elisha said, "But now bring me a minstrel." And it came to pass when the minstrel played that the hand of the Lord came upon him.
I make no pretense of understanding your obscure theological references.
Let me put it plain as I can. Here in the synagogue of Chernovitz, I am a cantor, a shaliach tzibur, a messenger of prayer. My song is a link, a bridge between men and God. My songs are the wings that carry prayers between men and God. They are not meant for amusement, for entertainment. Don't you see?
No.
Oh, certainly you do. You must. Please tell His Majesty that I refuse his invitation only because I know that I could not do justice to his kindness. He would not hear my song because he does not understand my faith. My song is a prayer. I can pray before God, but not before Franz Josef.
He believed this. Joseph Rosenblatt believed that his songs were the wings of prayer, that his voice was the chariot of prayer between men and God. When he sang in the synagogue, his voice spanned the harmonics of melody as prayer spans the harmonics of faith.
Sur Yisroel, Sur Yisroel, como beyezeras, beyezeras Yisroel, ופדאי חינומך יהודו ישרואל אוי וצור ישרואל כמו ביבזרוס Be'ezras Yisroel, ufedavechinomechu, yehudo be'Yisroel, goyalev v'yenu, goyalev v'yenu. Goy aleinu, Tzur Yisroel, goy aleinu, como be'ezras, be'ezras Yisroel, ufedei chinomeyecho, yehudo be'Yisroel. Goy aleinu, Adoi Shem Tzivoy Shemoy, Kidosh Yisroel, Baruch Atu Adoi Shem, Goar Yisroel.
Older now, years older and already married, Joseph Rosenblatt, humble at the honor, accepted the invitation of the Jewish congregation of Hamburg and came to them as their cantor. But in Hamburg, where there should have been nothing but joy, in Hamburg he found conflict.
Yossele, what is it now?
Now it is the same as yesterday, and the yesterday before yesterday, and every day since I came here. Tova, how much can a man stand? How much can any man take of this? Constantly, always bickering, arguing.
Sit down. Take off your shoes.
How can a man be angry with his shoes off?
Why must you be angry?
Because I have cause. They are trying to bully me into singing as I cannot sing, as I never will be able to sing. Yes, so they say. They come up to me with sweet, sweet smiles. They take me around the shoulders. Yes, so they say, and they wag their fingers at me. Yes, sir. You must not sing the liturgy the way you want to sing it. You must sing it the way it is written, not repeating a single word. Yes, sir. You'll be naughty. What do they want from me?
They want you to stop improvising.
Aha. So Zimmerman has been here?
Mrs. Zimmerman.
What did you tell her?
Well, I told her a recipe for making strudel. Imagine, Ursula, she doesn't slam down the dough. I told her always you must slam down
What
the
did
dough.
you tell her when she said I should stop improvising when I sing the liturgy?
I told her that singing the liturgy is not like making strudel. When a person makes strudel, then they must always do the same thing in the same way. But when you sing, when you pray, then you must go to God in your own manner.
You understand me, Toba.
Take off your shoes.
I could only get them to see it as clearly as I see it. I try to explain. I honestly try. I tell them that when I'm singing in the synagogue, my brain does not control my voice, only my heart. If my heart says a word should be repeated, then I repeat the word. If I feel that at a certain point I should pause, then I pause. If suddenly my heart is overflowing with joy, then my song overflows. It's in my heart. I cannot help it.
Here are your slippers.
So what is there to do?
Ursula, you had a letter from America last week. What did it say?
Letter? What letter?
The one from America.
I had a letter from America?
You put it in your pocket.
Which pocket?
The inside pocket.
Here?
No, there.
Look, a letter from America. Well.
Oh, you open it.
Well, of course. Imagine a letter from America. Toba, this is a very important letter. It was careless of you not to remind me that I'd forgotten to open it before.
What does it say?
It is from the congregation of Tzedek in New York City. They want me to come there. To New York City as their cantor. So, what a coincidence. Just when I have reached the limit of my endurance here in Hamburg, just when I can take it no longer, this letter comes. It is like a miracle. Just at this moment, a miracle. Wait. Not so fast, a miracle. You knew about this letter, Toba.
I saw it come.
You knew what it said.
Yes, I knew.
How much did you have to do with this miracle, Toba? Tell me now the truth.
You're unhappy here. They're trying to hold you fast and change the tradition, but I know you, Ursula. No one can clip your wings. No one. So I thought of you and freedom, and that made me think of America. I wrote your sister in New York.
Now it all comes out.
You're angry with me.
You're
I'm sorry.
You should be. Plotting behind my back, fixing up deals. Who ever heard of such a thing? I'm going now.
Where?
To Zimmerman. Toba, I'm going to ask him to accept my resignation.
Oh, Ursula.
America, here we come.
Ursula.
Yes, Toba?
Ursula, in polite society, a cantor does not offer his resignation to the president of the congregation in his carpet slippers. Better put on your shoes.
Good afternoon, Cantor Rosenblatt.
Afternoon, good afternoon.
Yesterday in shul, it was wonderful. The way you sang, it made my prayers come so swiftly. Before you came, I rarely went to the synagogue, but now, always. Always.
Cantor Rosenblatt.
Yes, my son.
Please, Cantor, the boys asked me to ask you something.
Yes?
Why is your beard so long?
Why is my beard so long? Well, you tell the boys that a cantor is not worth 2 cents without his voice. And how do you lose your voice? From catching cold. And how do you catch cold? From drafts. And how do you avoid drafts? By wearing something warm. And why do I wear a beard? Because it is warm. It keeps me from drafts, so I do not catch cold, so I do not lose my voice. Here, take this quarter and buy ice cream for the boys. And tell them not to be such nosy boys.
Cantor Rosenblatt.
Oh, Chaim. Did you get the job?
No, I was too late.
Too bad. No money?
No.
Here, take this.
I try, honestly.
Of course you do.
Alone. Yes, that's it. I'll pay you back.
Of course. No hurry. Do not worry about it.
Bless you. Bless you.
Yossela, please. I must sit down.
This is the top. The top of the Palisades. Looked over, across the river. Our New York City.
You're happy here. It's good that we came.
It is good that there was a place like America to come to. A man can sing here as his heart tells him to sing.
They came to the synagogue, the critics, the lovers of music. They crowded the synagogue when he sang, and they wrote long articles about the short man with the heavenly voice. And one day he had a visitor.
I am Campanini.
I am Rosenblatt.
Cantor Rosenblatt. You no longer can deny the world the beauty of your voice. It is not permissible. I, Campanini, declare it is not permissible.
My voice is denied to no one.
I say it is. I say you are cheating the world of a treasure by your refusal to sing upon the stage. Cantor Rosenblatt, as the director of the Chicago Grand Opera Company, I demand that you come with me at once.
To Chicago?
You will play the leading role in our special production of La Juive by Jacques Halévy. Think of it. The opera house filled to overflowing. The symphony in the pit. The curtain rises, and you, Cantor Rosenblatt.
And I, Cantor Rosenblatt, will be in New York.
No!
Yes. Campanini. I am a cantor. I am not an opera singer.
I will make you as great as Caruso.
I have no desire to be an opera singer.
I don't believe it.
Wait, I will tell you a story, Mr. Campanini. You know what a shochet is?
No.
A shochet is a man who slaughters animals according to Jewish law. Well, in a certain town in the old country, there was a cantor who was also a shochet. One day, he decided he might also like to become a sofer.
A sofer?
A writer of scrolls. He would be a cantor, a shochet, and a sofer. He would sing in temples, slaughter cows, and write scrolls. Now this man, who wanted to be three men, went to a very learned rabbi for advice. The rabbi explained to this man that Satan always finds it difficult to tempt each man individually. He has therefore devised a plan whereby his task of temptation is made doubly easy by combining two men in one. Let us say, a cantor and a shochet. Or, now he proceeds another step forward. He persuades one man to unite three positions in himself, cantor, shochet, and sofer. The rabbi then reminded this man that if he were truly loyal to one occupation, he would have enough work to keep him forever out of the way of temptation.
But Cantor Rosenblatt...
I have enough work now, Mr. Campanini. Believe me, it keeps me out of the road of temptation.
His earnings were large, but his giving was larger. That was his weakness, his giving. When there was a sad story to hear, no one heard it more quickly than Cantor Rosenblatt. And no one felt its sorrow more deeply than Cantor Rosenblatt. And no one gave more quickly than Cantor Rosenblatt. That was his weakness. He suffered from a chronic inability to say no. And so he found himself in trouble.
Oh, they'll wait a little longer, but only a little longer, Yossela. They must have their money.
I know. I'm a bad provider, too.
You're a good provider. But too many people.
What is there to be done?
Well, we can move to a small apartment, give up the place.
1,000 little economies like that would not make up a fraction of what I owe. No, the answer is not that. It's strange that there can be evil in charity.
Evil?
The Talmud tells us that we must not give away more than 1/5 of what we have, or our loved ones and those around us will suffer. Tober, I have given away more than my 1/5. And yet I can never stop giving, not while I live. If men are in need, then their need cries out to me, and I must give. Talk. Would it be wrong to sacrifice one principle for the sake of a higher principle?
You mean go on the stage?
Is there another way out?
You must do nothing but what you believe is right, Ursula.
I have fought against it, Toba, always. When Franz Josef commanded me to sing at court, I refused. When Campanini invited me to Chicago, I refused. I have said, I believe, that my songs are sacred and not for sale. If it were only myself, only my family, I would still hold to my principle. But there are others who are at stake. So many of them, Toba. Who would care for them? Who would worry with them? Who?
Ursula, when you sing, no matter where you sing, your voice brings people nearer God. Today, more than ever today, people need wings for their prayers. The same God that you sing to in the temple will hear you in the music halls. He's there. He's everywhere.
Cantor Joseph Rosenblatt made his own terms with the stage.
One ticket, please.
Yes, sir.
What will Cantor Rosenblatt sing tonight, you know?
He won't be singing tonight.
No? It says on the sign he's here all week.
That's right, all week except Friday night and Saturday. He doesn't sing here on the Sabbath. Tonight he sings in the synagogue.
Toba, come sit on this trunk with me. Maybe we can get it to close.
Oh, Patsy. When the devil has nothing else to do, he gives people the idea to travel so that he can plague them with Patsy.
1, 2... Again. 1, 2...
Oh, that's all we need now, company.
Oh, Henry.
Hiya, Pop. Come on. All packed?
Almost finished. Did you get the tickets?
Right here.
Exactly as I planned?
Yep, exactly.
Toba, listen. I'm surprised. You know where we are going?
Oh, what a question. All day I've been making out trunk tags, and he asked me if I know where we're going. We're going to Europe for a concert tour. There. Am I a smart one?
No. This is something special. A real surprise. Almost like another honeymoon. Toba, I have changed our route so that we will have time to go to Palestine.
Palestine?
Eretz Yisrael. Toba, I do not know what it is, but just at the last minute I made up my mind. Something inside of me said to visit Palestine. It will be a pilgrimage. A pilgrimage to Zion.
Palestine, in Zion, the little man climbed a high hill and looked at the sweet land of Galilee. He was without words, but not without song. On a hilltop, with the warm softness of the breeze to carry the beauty of his voice to Zion, he sang a song.
Shir HaMalos Beshuvat Hashem Esivas Zion Hayinu Kecholemim.
When the Lord brought back those that turned to Zion, we were like unto them that dream. Then was our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing. Then said they among the nations, the Lord hath done great things with us. We are rejoiced. Turn our captivity, O Lord, as the streams in the dry land. Though he goeth on his way weeping, that beareth the measure of his seed, he shall come home with joy, bearing his sheaves.
And it was his last song. This song he sang upon a hill in Zion. The heart that had told him to repeat a word of the liturgy, that told him to pause at a certain point, that caused his song to overflow. The heart that had whispered Palestine at the moment of departing. That heart ceased to beat. The little man with the great voice came home to Zion with joy, bearing his sheaves.
Our Eternal Light drama today, Messenger of Prayer, was written by Irv Tunick. The music was composed by Morris Momorsky and conducted by Milton Katims. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical introduction. Henry Rosenblatt sang and arranged the songs of his father, Cantor Joseph Rosenblatt. And Arnold Pinsky of the Abraham Nadel Choir was the soloist as a child. Alexander Scorby was featured as narrator, and the role of Cantor Rosenblatt was played by Peter Capell. The entire production was under the direction of Edward King. Free time to present The Eternal Light is made available by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America in cooperation with the National Broadcasting Company. If you would like a copy of today's script, you may receive it by sending your name and address with 10 cents to The Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York, 27, New York. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel, that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations make free time available to present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our Eternal Light story today, Zipporah, was written by Sigmund Miller. Charlotte Holland is featured as Zipporah, and Roger de Koven as Leo Barren.
For there's hope of a tree, if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and that the tender branch thereof will not cease.
The first time I saw her was in Dr. Shaw, the registrar's office. She came in very softly and stood in front of the door, draped in a brightly colored dress, with huge yellow flowers imprinted on it. She wore a wide-brimmed straw hat, gay and so large that we couldn't see her face at all. But there was something extraordinary about her. The stiff, unrelaxed way she stood that caught my attention.
I am Zipporah Stone.
Yes, I know. Please sit down.
Thank you. Mr. Gordon said I should come to see you about going to school here.
Yes, he called me. What course would you like to take?
I don't care.
You must have some preference.
I don't care, Dr. Shaw.
This was a strange answer, for all who wish to study at our Teachers' Training Institute come with a great deal of eagerness. I know because I'm an instructor here. I tried to see the face of this strange student, but the wide-brimmed hat obstructed my view.
Most students who enroll have a very definite course in mind, and are usually very eager about it.
Mr. Gordon is very anxious for me to study here.
How old are you, Miss Stone?
20.
You live alone?
No. I live with Mr. Gordon and his family. He is my second cousin.
Where is your mother?
Dead.
Oh, I'm sorry. How about your father?
Dead. And so is my brother. And all my relatives, my uncles, aunts, and cousins.
I'm not trying to pry, Miss Stone.
I know.
Where are you from, Zipporah?
Lvov, Poland.
Mr. Gordon mentioned to me that you were a teacher over there, or that you were studying to be a teacher.
I have forgotten everything.
Oh, I'm sure you haven't. Everything will come back to you. Anyway, Zipporah, I think you'll like it here, and I'm sure you'll get along fine. Especially if you let people see your face.
She turned to Dr. Shaw and then slowly lifted her head, and I saw her face. A frozen, rigid face with the lips and mouth set in a mold. A face that had forbidden itself to smile. Her eyes were large and dark. She looked at Dr. Shaw for a moment, and then dropped her head again.
I'm going to enroll you, Zipporah. You will find study here very rewarding, I'm sure of that.
Yes, Dr. Shaw.
We have other students who lived through the war in Europe, and they're doing very well.
I will do my best.
I'm sure you will. That's a very handsome hat you're wearing.
Mrs. Gordon picked it out for me.
Oh. Well, then, Zipporah, I'll be in touch with you in a day or so.
Thank you.
She arose, said goodbye, and walked out, wrapped in her gay summer dress with huge yellow flowers on them. Zipporah Stone was enrolled as a student in the school and began her studies in my class. Day after day, she sat in her seat quietly, rarely moving. Day after day, I looked into those large, dark, unlit eyes of hers that revealed nothing. Perhaps there was nothing to see anymore. Perhaps the light had gone out for good. I couldn't brush her from my mind, even after school hours. One day she didn't come to class, nor the next day, nor for several days after that. It worried me so much that one evening I paid her a visit. Mr. Gordon, her second cousin and guardian, answered the door. He invited me inside.
I sent Zipporah away for a week on vacation. How's she getting on in class?
No better than when she first came to school.
I'd hoped she would come out of him. You wouldn't believe me, I know, but Zipporah was one of the gayest, most sparkling creatures I've ever met, and a brilliant student.
Did she ever tell you what happened to her over there?
Never. I don't think she ever will.
Would help if you could get her to tell you.
I know. My wife has tried a dozen times, but Zipporah just freezes up. All we know is that everyone is dead. None of her relatives in Europe escaped.
Well, she should be encouraged in those things young women are usually interested in. Clothes, young men.
We've tried. I've had several eligible young men to the house, but she neither encourages nor discourages them. Why, we can't even get her to smile. And Zipporah's been here with us over 6 months.
Well, maybe time will thaw her out.
I hope you're right, Mr. Barren. I certainly hope so.
Zipporah returned to class. There was no change. She sat quietly in her seat, imprisoned within herself as before. Her face remained as before, expressionless, frozen, and unsmiling. In this manner, weeks went by, and the semester drew to a close. It was time for the students to prepare the term essay. I had chosen a common topic, something simple and light. The subject was an unforgettable June day. The students were given a week to prepare. I promised to read the best of the essays aloud in class. Students, I have selected Miss Zipporah Stone's essay as the best in the class. It was not a difficult selection. You will hear for yourself. I'm going to read it to you. The sun rose up over the rooftops, exploding the pink clouds into tiny, feathery balls. And the day came alive, clear and sharp and sweet. The sun began to shine down
with golden light, tinting the windows and painting the houses. And now a warm, soft, silky breeze swept over the streets. It was the loveliest of mornings, and the bluest of skies, and all of us who saw it were filled with a painful, passionate love of life. We who were about to die, standing in front of the barracks, wondered why nature mocked us with this radiant morning. On this June morning, 1,000 of us waited for the Nazi trucks to come and take us off to the gas chambers of Belzunce. On this loveliest of mornings, 1,000 of us waited without hope and without faith.
I think I hear the trucks.
No, they're playing. That's what they are, playing.
What is there to do? Nothing. We're all going to die.
There's a forest right in back of the barracks.
It's too late for the forest.
Stormtroopers guard every street.
I won't go. Let them shoot me.
That's the best way. No torture.
That's what my mother had told me. If they come to take you, she said, don't go. Run away. Let them shoot you in the back. It's far better than the gas chambers or torture. I listened to the frightened, hysterical voices about me. I listened and looked up at the radiant, friendly morning. And as I waited for the green trucks to come, I remembered the last night I spent with my family. It was 11 o'clock of a windy, rainy night here in Lavaux.
They took Dov Lippmann away today.
Let's not talk about it. What's the use? Let's go to sleep.
Of course, let's go to sleep. To sleep is to forget.
The Allies are going to conquer. The Nazis can't win. We just have to hold out.
It's no use trying to close our eyes to the facts. Every day, 20 Jews, no more, no less, are removed from this street to the gas chambers. They do things with precision and order. Where's Moshe Cohen and his family? Chaim Gutmann and his wife, Aaron Gelb and his sons, all gone. Any night now, they'll come for us.
Father.
I'm the head of this family. I should encourage you, tell you there's hope, but I cannot. There is none.
Let's go to sleep. Zipporah, go to bed. Maybe it's Cousin Esther.
Not at 11 o'clock. It's death to be caught on the street after 9. It's not Cousin Esther.
It's my playmate, Benjamin. He said he would ring 3 times. That's what he said.
It's them. They're coming for us.
Children, if they're going to take us to the gas chamber, try to escape. It's better to die with a bullet in your back. Remember, try to escape. They took my father, my mother, and my sweet younger brother. But they didn't take me, for I was number 21. My father shouted curses at them and they beat him. My mother walked straight with unseeing eyes. And my dear brother, who was always full of wonderful hope, looked at the faces of these monsters. And in that brief, searing moment, I saw hope die violently in him, leaving him a blanched and terrified and whimpering little boy as they pushed him out of the door. And then suddenly I was alone. My soul screaming with this horror. Not even God can measure the agony. All that long, dreadful, rain-filled night, the whips of anguish lashed at me, inflicting wounds from which no human being can recover.
I stopped reading the essay for a moment. The class was sitting very quietly. Not a student moved. I looked at Zipporah, but she didn't look at me. She was a little paler than usual, but otherwise the rigid, unsmiling mold of her face remained the same. I'd stopped reading only for a few seconds. I picked up the essay and began to read again. The sun rose higher in that twinkling June morning. The prisoners in the wire-fenced courtyard of the barracks were growing silent. The frightful hand of terror
lay heavily upon us all. Before me in that bright sunlight was a sea of gray and ghastly faces waiting for those green trucks to come to take us away. One could get across the wire fence easily enough, but a dozen or more guards with submachine guns watched us carefully. Zipporah, I said, come on, let's run. Like Mama had said, die with a bullet in the back. But I did not want to die. Not even now. The sky was too blue and the sun too warm and friendly, and life was bribing me with its June beauty. Perhaps this lovely day would soften the Nazis. Even they could not think of murder on such a day.
I can't stand it. I hope they come soon.
They'll be here soon enough.
Hush, my baby.
It's the trucks.
He won't sleep.
No, he hasn't slept all day.
He's hungry, isn't he?
Very hungry.
They're not coming here. They're not for us.
They were not for us. Not yet. And so we waited as the sun rose toward noon. On the ground near the wire fence, a pair of swallows landed, chirping happily. One of the guards with a submachine gun approached the birds carefully and threw them a slice of bread. They fled away and then came back to nibble at the slice. They threw them several more slices. All of us stared at the 3 slices of bread lying on the ground near the wire fence. The guard had seemed almost human. His face had warmed with a smile as he watched the birds pecking at the bread. But the birds had flown away now, and a young woman with a thin, silent, emaciated child in her arms ran to retrieve the bread. The guard who liked birds did not like women with emaciated children. That's a quick way to die. No anguish, no waiting, mercifully fast out of this beautiful June world. Why wait for the trucks to cart you away like cattle in the slaughterhouse? Reach for the bread and all will be over. Every cell in my body recoiled as I moved to where the mother and the child lay still upon the warm earth. I snatched the bread and turned and faced the guard. He looked at me, unbelieving. He raised his gun. I looked at him and waited, quivering. He laughed, put down his gun and turned away.
There's no word for these beasts. No word in any language.
Maybe the child is still alive.
They're both dead. Don't look at them.
Please, could I have a piece of your bread? Yes, take it. Take all of it. I don't want it. But you
risked your life for it.
I don't want it. I didn't risk anything. Nothing is cheaper than life here. Give it to your child. Go on, go on.
Thank you. Thank you.
They have made us all crazy.
The sun reached the top of the day, and still the trucks did not come. It was high noon, and now there were no more shadows. The sun crept into every nook and cranny, searching hungrily for shadowy places. This deadly and radiant day moved on. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and still we waited. We were given no food, a sure sign that they planned to murder us all. But the guards grew restless. They needed relaxation.
Hey! Du! Youth! Come here.
The guard pointed to an old man with a short gray beard. The old man fearfully pointed to himself in question.
Yeah, du! Come here!
The guard gestured with his gun in an angry motion at the delay. The old man, with his head bowed, but watching the guard with the fascination of horror, shuffled slowly over to the fence where the guard stood. As he approached the fence, one of the 3 guards reached in and grabbed him roughly by the arm, pulling him up fast against the wire. The other pulled out a large red bandana protruding from the old man's pocket and slipped it around the old man's neck and strangled him. We watched, expressionless, soundless, and half crazed.
They're blood crazy. Blood crazy.
Quiet, don't let them hear you.
Yeah, you are murderers. I have a handkerchief, too. See my handkerchief.
Please.
Come. Murder me.
Please, you know.
One of the guards had taken leisurely aim and shot him. He fell with his arms still outstretched and the handkerchief held tightly in his clenched fist. Then his wife ran over to his sprawling body. But she died before she reached him, falling ungracefully over him. The rest of us stood transfixed, not daring to move, not daring to breathe heavily. We stood like stones. The guard, in a lazy manner, swept his gun slowly up and back, ready to shoot at the slightest quiver of motion. Not even the children moved, for they knew. For well over a minute, he played his gun upon us, reveling in his terrible power. But then his arm grew tired. He lowered his gun and turned away with a laugh. The day approached its end. The old sun, now an incandescent orange, moved down the western sky. The earth seemed on golden fire. And we who saw it, standing in the wire-enclosed yard of the barracks, knew that this was the end of the world.
The trucks! They're coming!
I see them. Yes, they're really coming.
We're going to Belsen's.
I'm sure they're going to take us to another camp, a labor camp.
Those trucks go only one way, to and from Belsen's.
Achtung! In Doppelreihe aufgestellt! Los!
The trucks aren't facing in the direction of Belsen.
What's the use in hoping?
Da gibt's nichts mehr zu quatschen! Wenn ich gehorcht von abgegleicht! Einer nach dem anderen, lasst mal rein! Was?
We rode for a long time as the dusk changed to a dark, moonless night. We entered Lvov, the city of my birth, and began to ride through the dead and darkened streets. We came upon a long, narrow thoroughfare, and then the truck I was on stopped suddenly with a jolt. It became terribly quiet. There was no sound. This was the time to jump out of the truck and escape, for there was no doubt anymore in anyone's mind where we were going. Suddenly, the man alongside of me jumps out of the truck and runs like he's on fire. The guard shoots at him. Without thinking, I jump too, and I run. I was running not to die, but to escape. My back crawls with the expected bullet. I keep running faster and faster. My heart batters against my ribs. Suddenly, the street is lit up by a glaring white searchlight. I run into an open cellar and crouch near a bale of refuse.
Sie können da nicht weit weg sein. Sie haben sich hier in dem Haus versteckt. Wir können den Lastwagen nicht aufhalten. Die Brandungstruppen werden Sie schon finden.
I couldn't hold up the trucks, and they were sure that the occupation troops would find me. I don't know how long I stayed there crouching behind the barrel of refuse. Maybe an hour, maybe 4. Finally, I crawled up to the street level. There were several Nazi soldiers combing the street. I backed into the cellar again and moved deeper inside. In utter blackness, I moved slowly on, not knowing where I was or where I was going. I, who had always been afraid of the dark, now found it protective.
Who's there? Speak up or we'll shoot.
Flash the light.
We're not supposed to. You know the rules.
Just for a moment, quick. We might be ambushed.
It's a woman. One of us.
Come here. Don't be afraid. We're not Nazis.
Who are you?
The underground.
Very deep underground we are, too.
How'd you get here?
I jumped out of a truck. They were taking us to Belsen's. Where am I?
You're at the entrance to a tunnel leading into the river which runs under the city of Lvov. You may yet escape with your life.
Give me your hand. We'll take you to the tunnel.
I can't tell you how grateful I am.
Yeah, none of that.
No one has done anything kind for me for so long.
We're not safe yet. Far from it.
This tunnel, who built it?
The newspaper publisher. He was very wise. He knew that Hitler would someday come and knock on his door.
So every day he and his sons and daughter and his wife would go down to the cellar and dig. Not to cause suspicion. Be careful. Not to cause suspicion. They carried the earth away in bits in their pockets and even in their shoes. The neighbors never knew. For several years they continued to dig, following the river to the canal.
This tunnel has saved over 1,000 lives.
I never saw the faces of those 2 men who took me here. But I shall never forget them.
Goodbye, Zipporah.
Keep alive.
I began to crawl on the narrow, damp ledge that was hewn out over this underground river. I crawled in the blackest blackness, feeling my way by reaching ahead with my hands. Some unknown person was behind me, and were it not for him, I would never have made it to the canal. I know not how many times I lost consciousness, but each time I was goaded on.
Move.
I dragged myself ahead, moving in a nightmare.
Move.
Halfway through the tunnel, all my strength oozed out. I would have rolled off into the river if I could, but I didn't even have strength for that.
Move. Move.
I don't remember the rest of the way at all. I don't know how I got through the rest of the 50 yards. The next thing I knew, several pairs of hands grabbed me and picked me up. When I had recovered enough to look around, I saw that I was in a large space before a canal. In the pale, wavering candlelight, I saw a long row of people. Women, children, and men. But not very old people. The old lay somewhere in the bottom of the nameless Black River. The rest of us who survived felt nothing, because anguish, fatigue, and fear had dried us up.
You are safe for the time being, but soon you must go out on your own. Perhaps some of you can find friends with whom you can hide out. Some of you might escape to the side of our allies. Whatever you do, may God be with you.
When he finished, the man smiled kindly upon us all. They brought us food. I had forgotten hunger. I hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. As I ate, I saw that a boy alongside of me still had his watch. What time is it, friend?
Almost midnight. Just another minute more.
And so ended my most memorable day in June. So unforgettable that I cannot stop thinking of it since it happened.
that is how she ended her essay. The class said nothing. No one applauded. They were all very sober, as if in the presence of a tragedy. When the class was over, I asked Zipporah to stay for a few minutes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Barren. I should have written something light. That's what you really wanted.
Oh, I'm glad you wrote this. Look at me, Zipporah.
Yes, sir?
How old do you think I am?
I don't know.
Well, I'd like you to guess. Go on, I won't be hurt no matter what you say.
About 43?
Not very accurate, Zipporah. Maybe it's my gray hair that misleads you. You see, I'm only 30.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Barren.
It's not your fault, Zipporah. You see, I was at Belden.
You?
Yes, Zipporah. Please call me Leo. That's my first name.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Leo.
I took her by both hands, and I smiled. She looked at me for a long time, and then smiled back. The eternal light in people does not snuff out so easily.
Our Eternal Light drama today, Zipporah, was written by Sigmund Miller and was based on an essay by Zipporah Wynne. The music was composed by Morris Mamorsky and conducted by Milton Katims. Cantor David Putterman sang the liturgical introduction. Charlotte Holland was featured as Zipporah and Roger de Koven as Leo Barren. The entire production was under the direction of Edward King. Free Time to present the Eternal Light is made available by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations. This weekly program is presented under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 10 cents to cover the cost of postage and handling to the Eternal Light, 3080 Broadway, New York 27, New York. This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
Spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations make free time available to present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our Eternal Light story today, All These Barren Hills, was written by Morton Wishengrad. Donald Buca is heard as Samuel Gottlieb, and Alexander Scorby is the narrator.
observe the mighty holiness of this day. And in this season of the days of war, let us tell once again a dream of the prophet Jeremiah, that they who survive shall find grace in the wilderness. And the watchmen on Mount Ephraim shall call out to them, Arise ye, and let us go up to Zion. This is a true history, based upon actual letters, upon diaries that were kept, upon documents which were gathered and preserved as a journal. The day the bugle blew was April 11th, 1945. It took a little time to decide what should be done. Nearly a month. Then it took a little time to speak to the authorities. On June 3rd, 1945, 16 of them got into a truck. To the left and to the right, the rich landscape of Thüringen unrolled. They rode through Weimar, past the ruined houses and the broken streets. They rode for a long time, but they were patient. They could afford to be patient. In the town of Blankenheim, they stopped. The man who sat beside the driver got out and spoke to the Burgermeister.
We are taking possession of the township farm at Eggendorf.
No? By what authority?
The American military government, Herr Burgermeister.
What documents do you have? I will need a certification.
These are the papers. They're in order, Herr Burgermeister.
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Not at all.
What will you be doing in Germany?
We shall be farmers.
I see. Another question, if you don't mind.
I don't mind, Herr Burgermeister.
Where do you come from?
Buchenwald.
You mean from there?
Yes.
May I know your name?
You may. It's Samuel Gottlieb.
They were 16 from Buchenwald, 16 who had survived the sword. But they had not come unto the mountains of Samaria to plant a vineyard. Neither were they adorned with tabrets and disposed to go forth in merry dances. It was enough to be able to walk and to be allowed a small dream. The township farm of Eggendorf is 2 kilometers from the Burgermeister's house in Blankenheim. They rode to the farm with their documents of temporary possession. They looked at it with their large eyes, and then slowly the man named Samuel Gottlieb enumerated their blessings.
All right. The houses are torn and broken. We're no better. The cattle are skinny. Why not? They won't be ashamed of us. Oh, that's a joke. Isn't anybody going to laugh?
Samuel, I've had a look at the pile of manure out in the yard. For that alone, just to clean the yard, months of work.
Anybody else? Avram.
I didn't want to speak, but since you ask, everything is filthy. Everything needs repair. It would be different, Samuel, if we were people with skill. 8 years ago in Poland, I was a school teacher.
Avram, that's the whole point. We used to be tailors and clerks and intellectuals. Now we're going to become farmers. Isn't this what we argued about in Buchenwald? Avram, it was you who made the big speeches. Let us live together here in Germany, in a communal settlement, and prepare ourselves to be farmers so that we can go to Palestine and work on the land. That's what you said.
I haven't changed my mind. But this place is hopeless.
What do you think this place says about you? Look at all of us. What a collection of scarecrows we are. Well, what do you say?
It's better than the watchtowers and the barracks at Buchenwald. Let's get some sleep. Tomorrow morning we'll look around and see what's to be done.
Tomorrow they looked around, and they began to work. They began to build a farm settlement, modeled after the pioneer farm settlements of Eretz Yisrael. They gave themselves a name. A man named Samuel Gottlieb wrote an entry in his diary.
This is the farm settlement of Buchenwald. Kibbutz Buchenwald. Camp Buchenwald punished us, ruined us, but Kibbutz Buchenwald has united us. We've been cleansed of all our sickly, egotistic leanings. Now we must train ourselves to deserve to build our Kibbutz Buchenwald in Eretz Yisrael. There is so much work to do.
Look, how can you keep hammering nails when your right hand is just a mass of blisters?
You don't have to know the Talmud to answer. You use your left hand.
But what happens if both hands are full of blisters?
Then you shovel manure.
Look, how much manure can a man shovel?
How much is there?
So much.
That's how much. What are you so pale about?
I never touched a horse in my life. Now I'm riding one.
Not so loud. You're all right so long as the horse doesn't know. Now what's the matter? Why aren't you plowing?
The oxen have stopped.
Well, don't be bashful. Yell to them to start.
How do I yell?
Well, maybe they were not the oxen. Just yell Achtung.
You know, that's something I can't joke about. And I suppose it's stupid of me, but I just can't bring myself to shout commands at them in German. What's the Hebrew word for onward?
Kadima.
All right. Get up. Kadima.
It was a miracle. Not that they were able to work and had the strength for it, but that they were able to laugh. They plowed with oxen. One day after their arrival, they were already turning over the weed-choked earth of Eggendorf. It was cruel work for men who had subsisted for so many years on watery soup and potato parings. They trembled with fatigue. Under the hot sun, they shivered with weakness. But they forced themselves to turn over the ground, to sow it with barley and wheat.
Whoa! Whoa! What's the matter of him?
My hands are bleeding. My back.
Oh, hey, change places with me.
Thanks, Maya.
Better cover those blisters with something. Avram, what's wrong?
Maya, are we crazy?
What do you mean?
I mean, have we become lunatics? Look at all of us. What are we doing here? Working the Nazis' land.
It was a question uppermost in their minds. They were rebuilding a German farm, plowing German land. Why were they doing it? A man named Shlomo Lazarovich wrote the answer down in a letter he sent from Kibbutz Buchenwald to a friend in the former concentration camp of Buchenwald. A letter from a pioneer to a displaced person.
We must learn to love work itself and bring this love with us to Palestine. Even while we were still in Buchenwald, we volunteered to work in the hospital to save the few who were still alive. We washed the sick. We did not run away, even when the typhus epidemic spread. We suffered a great deal in the last 6 years, but we learned that only through love of labor can we find a lasting foundation for the future.
As if in answer to the letter, on June 6th, 5 more scarecrows arrived to build and to be rebuilt by Kibbutz Buchenwald. June the 9th was the Sabbath, and a man named Avram wrote in his diary that night,
Our room was brightly lighted and filled with guests. One of them was a rabbi from the American Army who had come to be with us for the Sabbath. We asked him to say a few words.
I don't have any right to preach to you. It isn't why I came.
You're a rabbi. It's the Sabbath.
I don't know what to say. I've never had a congregation like you.
Say whatever you please. We'll listen.
No. This time, I want my congregation to preach to me. I'm creating a president. I'm a rabbi who wants to listen.
No. What can we tell you? Well, we work hard here. The first days, we didn't think it was possible to go on. It's a little easier now. I think we've proved to ourselves that we haven't been destroyed, that we are people with a will to continue. We thank you for the help you have brought us from the American Joint Distribution Committee, because you are helping us to reach a time and a place when we will be able to rely on ourselves.
Samuel Gottlieb, that's a sermon for this Sabbath. Let me give you a text for it. They say that of those who went into the wilderness with Moses, toward the land that had been promised to them, some saw only the difficulties. We cannot secure the land of Israel, they said. But some were like you, like Joshua ben Nun. They relied on themselves. And they said with Joshua, let us go up into the land.
Discovered in America in the days of Daniel Boone and the Cumberland Road, in the days of the Conestoga wagons, a pioneer is a skillful man, sufficient unto himself. You do not build a civilization in a wilderness with other men's hands. The hands must be your own, skilled hands, able to turn the earth, to hold it, to build a house, to hold it, to gather the grain from one's own field, to hold it. It requires skill to be a pioneer and courage. And so they who had come with courage taught one another skill.
This is the machine which the Joint Distribution Committee sent to us yesterday. Now you stand here and watch how it works. Halima.
They stood round and watched the machine whir through a field of barley, cutting the grain and binding the sheaves. And the machine broke down.
Send for a mechanic to fix it.
No, wait. Let me try.
Have you ever repaired a machine like this?
No. Until yesterday, I never even saw one. But yesterday, I stood and watched the mechanic who brought it. A machine is only a machine no matter what it does. Somebody give me a screwdriver.
Well, naturally, he didn't fix it. It takes something more than presumption or boldness to repair a complicated mechanism. And so they had to call an expert. But the second time the machine broke down, an expert was no longer necessary. They had watched him, and as they themselves said...
After all, what is an expert? A man who is capable of learning from others.
Kadima!
This was how to be a pioneer. A man with a scholar's face, but with newly calloused hands, laughed to himself.
I will tell Samuel Gottlieb how I learned about monkey wrenches and pliers from a man who used to teach the Talmud. That should be a proper entry for his journal.
As the days followed, there were many new entries in the journal of Kibbutz Buchenwald.
The Russian army will occupy Thüringen, so we shall leave Wagendorf, find a new place farther west. We are to be given a new farm near Fulda. June 24th. We are in Geringshof near Fulda. It is even poorer than Eggendorf. There are no beds, no chairs, no tables. Still, we've started right to work.
July 2nd. New recruits come to us every day. Young men, young women, all intent on Eretz Yisrael. Some are religious, some are not religious.
we are all shades of opinion. We have decided that no one will try to force his ideas upon his comrades. The main thing is that all of us have only one object at heart: to work for Palestine and the Jewish people.
Slowly they find themselves. Cheeks are burnt by the sun, hands are surer, eyes are more clear. On the Sabbath, the cattle and horses are in their stalls. The men and women wash and put on fresh clothes. And Samuel Gottlieb of Kibbutz Buchenwald composes an entry for his diary.
Once there lived an artist in God's world, somewhere on the edge of the Baltic Sea. He looked out on the greenish water, studied the world and its beauty. He listened to the sounds around him, and all that his heart felt, he played on his fiddle. Then there was the war, and all vanished. They took him away forever. His wife, his music, his children were gone. All that remained was his last friend, his fiddle. And he plays upon it endlessly in his pain, month after month and year after year. And suddenly, all becomes quiet on God's earth. The burning fires are put out. Airplanes are quiet, motionless. The prison gates open for him. He sees the blue sky and the sun. He wants to run somewhere, to run to something. He seeks his beloved ones, his wife and his children. But he does not find them. He is all alone. And then he finds us. He is a member of our kibbutz, one of us, equal with all, working equally with all, and playing on his fiddle. Like this. So heartfelt. So good.
A melody to play on a violin, a Rosh Hashanah hymn to sing in Kibbutz Buchenwald. Lo, as the potter shapes the clay, so are we in thy hands. A hymn of occupation, of the smith, the mason, the worker in the field. And the men and women regard the musician and the singer, gazing with large, staring eyes. They sit sunken in themselves, thinking of dead moments and wondering.
Far away, perhaps at Carmel or near the Sea of Galilee, there's a green settlement. Will there be some joy for us there? Will there be warmth and closeness somewhere? Sometime?
On August 5th, an American chaplain brings news.
Please be quiet. We're behaving like children. Please be quiet. Quiet, everyone. All right, Rabbi. We'll be quiet.
I have received word from Paris that 80 priority certificates for Palestine have been set aside for Kibbutz Buchenwald.
80 certificates?
You can expect to sail in a month or 6 weeks.
Well?
Rabbi, you're absolutely sure?
Yes.
It wouldn't be good if...
You will not be disappointed.
You're sure?
Yes. There are 80 certificates. More than you yourselves need.
We'll send a small committee to Bergen-Belsen and ask who among them will go with us as farmers to Eretz Yisrael.
80 certificates. They stand around, and for once there is no quick movement to resume the tasks they've left abandoned. A hammer lies idle near a cabinet that's being repaired. The oxen stand stolidly in the field and wait for the return of the plowmen. The thin cows munch hay in their stalls, while the milk pails remain unfilled. there is silence. The men and women have died many times. They are those who have seen hell and survived. Now they can only listen to the sound of their own heartbeats. That evening, Samuel Gottlieb opens the diary he is keeping. He dips a pen in ink, and he writes a single sentence.
Perhaps the word joy, in the fullest meaning, is enough.
On August 8th, there is another entry.
2 girls have come to us from Bergen-Belsen.
Shalom, Chaverim.
On August 11th, Samuel Gottlieb takes up his pen again.
Today was the Sabbath, and from a distance we heard a song. Then came some girls and boys, and we went out to meet them, crying, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. And then we began to dance.
And so there is another entry in the journal.
The words of the song are, who will build Galilee? And the answer is, God will build Galilee, and we will build Galilee.
The journal is crowded now with many entries. But the best entry is a smudge of soot that comes through the window of the railroad car. A man named Abraham Ahovain studies the faces of his comrades, and he begins to write in his diary.
Through the dark of Europe, a few half-broken little railway cars are carrying a few people toward Palestine. Each of them, years ago, sent his longing heart before him, sent his heart from behind electrified barbed wire. In the car, all have given themselves to the angel of sleep. Like good children, they are listening to the angel's tales. It is dark, but it gets lighter and lighter. My comrades get up, come back into life again. September 8th, 1945. The military transport Matroa cast anchor off the port of Haifa. September 8th. It was the first day of Rosh Hashanah, the first day of the new year and the new life. They thronged the deck in sight of the Holy Land, and they spoke an ageless prayer.
Grant lasting peace unto Israel and all mankind. In the book of life may we be inscribed before thee. Blessed art thou, O Lord, who makest peace.
A wind came up on Rosh Hashanah, a wind that blew down from the hill of Zion toward the sea. And one of the girls, the girl from Buchenwald, wrote of that moment.
Friend, is it possible that there on the horizon, still unclear, is it possible that I have seen a shape there of rolling hills and heights and valleys? Are these the contours of our land? I stand against the rail. My lips repeat over and over, Eretz Yisrael. I know that the past will not lead me, and I am a little afraid. Once I wanted to believe in the world, in people, in ideals, and life has showed me that this could not be. Now the same wish begins to be reborn. Let me put away what I have lived through. Let me leave it here in the depths of the sea. Friends, I see the first house.
This is the season of the holy days in America and also in a farm settlement of Eretz Yisrael, known as Kibbutz Buchenwald. The settlement has grown to more than 100 men and women and children. And to them have come the people of the land of Israel, only to look upon them and to speak a word.
You come in a good time. We are only at the beginning. All these barren hills must one day be covered with green.
There are many hymns for the solemn festival of Rosh Hashanah. In Israel, in Kibbutz Buchenwald, they sing this hymn for themselves, and the words are proper for the day and for the season. The words are, Ki hine kachone. As the potter shapes the clay and proves it in the fire, so we are proved by thee.
Our Eternal Light drama today, All These Barren Hills, was written by Morton Wishengrad and is based upon two articles written by Meyer Levin entitled The Journal of Kibbutz Buchenwald, which appeared in the magazine Commentary. The music was composed by Morris Mamorsky and conducted by Milton Kavins. Cantor David Futterman sang the liturgical music. Donald Bucher was featured as Samuel Gottlieb, and Alexander Scorby was the narrator. The entire production was under the direction of Edward King. Free time to present the Eternal Light is made available by the National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations.
Unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive, beaten for the light, to cause the lamps to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generations.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its affiliated independent stations make free time available to present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Today, in the season of the Sukkot Festival, we present a story by Irv Tunick entitled The Creation, in commemoration of United Nations Week. Featured as narrator is Raymond Edward Johnson.
It is written that in the beginning, the very beginning, even before the beginning, 2,000 years before the heavens were divided into seven, before the earth was born, before the first terrestrial morn, the Lord God created seven things. First, God made the Torah, the holy law. It was written in black fire on white fire so that its words would blaze forever. Then the divine throne was created. Paradise was placed on its right hand, and hell on its left, and the celestial sanctuary stretched before the throne. Finally, the seventh thing was created. It was a voice, and it cried aloud,
Return, ye children of men.
And it came to pass, and so it is written, that 974 generations after the Lord God created the Torah, he wished to create the world. He spoke to the Torah. God spoke, saying, In thy opinion, would it be wise to create the earth? And the Torah answered,
O Lord God, truly thou art the King of kings, and truly a king must have his army, his courtiers, his attendants to do his bidding. But in this matter I am burdened with fear, I ache with danger. If thou should create the world, thou must also create man. And what shall man be? A sinner, a cheat, a thief, an ingrate. He will lie, slander, covet, murder. He will live for himself and not for the Torah.
And God replied, If there shall be sin, there shall also be repentance. I shall create the world, and I shall create man. And man shall be created in my own image. Now God called to his side justice. He summoned justice, saying to justice, Go thee and rule the earth which I am about to create. And justice went to earth, the first earth God created. Justice went to earth and ruled over all the earth, over the creatures of the earth and the men of the earth. And then God came down to earth. He came down and was displeased with the earth he had created. It is not good, said God. It is not good. I will not have it. And God then created a second earth. And again justice went to rule. And again God was displeased, and his anger turned the sun to ash. It is not good, said God. I will not have it. And a third earth was created. It is not good, said God. I will not have it. And a fourth earth. And so with the fifth earth and the sixth. It is not good, said the Lord. I will not have it. Now God summoned the virtues to his presence. He summoned justice and peace. He summoned blessing, mercy, and right. He summoned the virtues. And the virtues stood before him. Justice spoke first.
It was done as my Lord God desired it to be done. I went to the earth and sat in judgment. To all I gave equal justice, to the rich and poor alike. To the farmer and the artisan, to the scholar and the yeoman. To all, judgment was given according to the law.
Then right spoke.
What is lacking, then? Is it truth? No, it cannot be truth, because man has the truth. He has the law. Is it faith? No, it cannot be faith, because man has a soul, and the soul is the vault of faith. Is it love? No, it cannot be love, because man has children, and children are love. Is it beauty? No, it cannot be beauty, because a man is fashioned in the image of God. What is lacking then? What is needed?
And justice replied,
It is not what is lacking, but what is there, the seed of imperfection. I will prove it. Look down upon earth, upon one speck of earth. See there a man. Jacob Mitzvah.
Who calls me?
Jacob Mitzvah, are you a pious man?
I love the Lord, my God.
Do you live by the law of God, Jacob Mitzvah?
Every breathing moment of my life.
And yet, Jacob Mitzvah, you have broken the law. You have stolen that which belonged to another. Is that not the truth? Speak.
It is the truth. I have stolen.
See there? A pious man, and yet a thief. How can I work in this clay?
Jacob Mitzvah, what did you steal?
I stole bread.
Why did you steal bread?
To feed my children. It was a bitter time, and the crop was less than normal. My master took all the wheat, even my rightful share. He took it and sold it in the market to buy jewels for his wife. When my children cried, and they always cried, they were hungry. When I could no longer stand their cries, I went to my master's house and stole bread.
And that was your crime?
I stole bread. That was my crime.
It was a crime, and he was judged according to his crime, and he was declared guilty of his crime. Pious man, but still guilty of his crime.
Justice. What is a crime?
Crime is the breaking of the law.
Crime is the breaking of the law. But is the law so unbending that it will not yield? Let there be law, and let there be wisdom in the execution of the law. Let there be law, and let there be compassion in the hearts of the judges who measure the law. Let there be law, and let the law be gentle. Let the law be filled with understanding.
And the Lord appeared. Suddenly he appeared, and the Lord said, "Who has spoken these words?"
I have spoken them, O my king.
And the Lord asked, "What is thy name?"
My name is Mercy.
And God smiled, and the wind was suddenly soft. God smiled, and he said, "Mercy, go thou with justice to the earth. Together you will rule the world I am about to create." And as it is written, the world was created in 6 days. On the first day, God created the heavens and the earth, light and darkness, day and night. On the second day, God created the firmament, the veil between the waters above and the waters below. On the third day of creation, God ordered that the waters be gathered together and the dry land to appear. The earth, obedient, hunched itself into hills and mountains, pushed valleys apart, dug riverbeds, and scratched waterways for streams. The water descended into these basins. It thrashed against its banks, hated its imprisonment, cried out aloud, "Oh, Lord, let me escape!"
This is no fit preserve for the mightiest of all things created. Let me escape my prison. Let me once again flood the entire earth. Give me the acres I need for my glory.
And God was angry. He turned to the waters. God, in his anger, turned to the waters and said, "Do not boast of thy strength, O water. Behold, I will order the sand to make a boundary for thee, which thou shalt not be able to pass." And the water laughed. It rippled its surface and laughed.
The sand! What can the sand do to me? My smallest wave will pass over the sand and scatter the puny particles all over the earth.
The biggest grain of sand called his brothers together.
Fear not, my brothers. True, we are small. We are weak and powerless when each is by himself. Divided, we would fly into the endless abyss if the slightest drop of water touched us. But let us unite, never to separate, and we shall become strong. And the boastful waters will know our strength and no longer despise us.
And still the water laughed. It rippled its surface and laughed. And then in a hideous fury it flung itself upon the sand. Again and again, in furious passion, it flung itself upon the sand. And then, because the grains of sand were united, because they lived together in peace, because they have found the strength of union, the waters tasted of defeat and recoiled. And the Lord said, I detest pride. And as it is written, on the fourth day God created the sun, the moon, and the stars. On the fifth day he created the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky. On the sixth day God created the living creatures after his kind, cattle and creeping things and beasts of the earth after his kind. And as it is written, on the sixth day also God created man. With dust gathered from the four corners of the earth, God created man. When man opened his eyes, his first words were, How great are thy works, O Lord. God then led Adam through the Garden of Eden. And God said to Adam, See how beautiful are the works of my hands. Whatever I have created was made for thy sake. Take care lest thou spoil or destroy my world, for if thou wilt spoil it, there will be none to set it aright. How great are thy works, O Lord. Now God resolved to give Adam a wife. He caused Adam to fall into slumber, and God said, How shall I make Eve? I will not make her from the head of man, lest she carry her head in arrogant pride. Nor from the eye, lest she be wanton-eyed. Nor from the ear, lest she be an eavesdropper. Nor from the neck, lest she be insolent. Nor from the mouth, lest she be a tattler. Nor from the heart, lest she be inclined to envy. Nor from the hand, lest she be a meddler. Nor from the foot, lest she be a gadabout. And the Lord took a rib from Adam's side, and as he formed it into the shape of a woman, the Lord whispered, Be pure, be pure. The wedding of Adam and Eve was a blessed occasion. God presented the bride to the groom, the angels danced, and there was joy. And now that it was done, now that creation was done, now that all things were done, all that was needed was for the Lord to press upon the earth his seal, to say that it was good. He assembled the angels. All the angels were assembled, and God sat on his throne.
Just then, with a swirl of wind, justice and mercy appeared. The two together, justice and mercy, they stood before the throne. Said justice,
I pray thee, O Lord, not to bless the world. It is not worthy.
Said mercy,
it is beyond redemption, Almighty King.
And the Lord looked at mercy and justice. The Lord looked at them and said, What is thy complaint against my earth?
It is man. He is a baseless sinner. He defies the law. He wars against his fellow man, thinks evil of his neighbor, steals and cheats from his own flesh and blood.
It is not always that bad. Some men are faithful in their own peculiar fashion. A man is good to his wife. He's good to his family. He is even good to his friends. One might even agree that each man can be good to one another. But that is not the source of the trouble.
It is when man forms little circles with other men.
Then it is not man against man, but circle against circle, group against group. This is the evil we cannot mend.
A man from this family hates a man from that family.
A man from this town hates a man from that town.
A man from this state hates a man from that state.
A man from this nation hates a man from that nation.
And the Lord listened to justice and mercy. He listened to them and said, Go thee back to my earth and tell my people of the earth to form themselves into one bundle, so that one man is to another man as a father is to a son. Justice and mercy returned to the earth, appealed to the people of the earth, told them to form themselves into one bundle as the Lord God commanded. And so, at a certain time, in a certain city, the rulers of the world gathered, kings of mighty nations, ministers from minor tribes, diplomats, statesmen, secretaries, and specialists of protocol. They gathered in this certain city for the purpose of binding themselves together into one bundle as the Lord commanded. And it started with debate. And the debate rose to argument, and the argument swelled to anger, and the anger became passion, and passion flung justice aside and mercy, and all the world trembled in fear. And the Lord saw this, and his anger split mountains asunder. Cried the Lord, I will not have it. I will not see man barter away the lives of other men as a butcher barters beef. I will not have it. If a man does not want peace, I will not have man. As I have created man, so shall I destroy him. Now the angels gathered close to the throne. They gathered close and were eager to sing their praise of the Lord. But the Lord motioned them to silence. He was prepared to pass judgment. The angel Shamael flew to the gates, flung open the gates, and listened. There was nothing but a pillar of silence stretching from the earth to heaven. And the angels stirred, and there was tension, and fear, anxiety, and silence. Just then, from off in the velvet distance, a voice was heard. The melody was as sweet as a sunrise, as warm as a baby, as rich as a kiss. The voice of the people flew up from the earth, begging forgiveness, asking for mercy. And this was the prayer.
Grant us forgiveness for the sake of those who were slain for thy holy name, who were slaughtered proclaiming thy unity, who went through fire and water for the sanctification of thy name. Do it for the sake of the sucklings at the breast, for the sake of weaned infants who have not trespassed, for the sake of peoples in houses of instruction. Do it for thy sake, if not for ours. Do it for thy sake, and save us.
And now the Lord cried, and his tears flowed, and he knew the prayer of Israel, and he stayed his hand. He said, "Not yet, not yet." And so the Lord waits. He waits for the dawn of the true seventh day. He waits for the Sabbath of peace. O men of earth, why do you deny the Lord God rest from his labors? After all these uncounted generations, the seventh day is not yet.
Now we take great pleasure in presenting Major Aubrey Eben, speaking from Paris, France. We take you now to Paris.
As I speak to you from Paris, the nations of the world are assembled for critical decisions on the future of the Holy Land. The revival of Jewish statehood after 2,000 years presents itself to the world community as an unexampled triumph of faith and historic tenacity. But although the existence of the State of Israel is an evident fact, recognized with pride and respect by our friends, but also recognized, though with reluctance, by our enemies, that does not mean that all is safely accomplished and attained. There lies before our delegation a supremely important task: to stand guard upon the political and territorial integrity of our state. The Negev is a part of Israel, just as Arizona is a part of the United States. No legal power anywhere exists, not even in the General Assembly of the United Nations, whereby a part of an existing state may be detached from it without its consent. We therefore firmly reject the proposals of the mediator's report to award the greater part of Israel to Arab states. The Negev, all the Negev, north and south, is not merely a part of Israel. It is that part of the country to which the highest value is attached.